Hello sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 2 college football rankings. So starting off by briefly recapping last week's rankings and what those teams did in Week 1. Last week at number 10, I had Arizona State. They beat Northern Arizona 38-19. Ninth, I had LSU. They upset Clemson, winning 17-10. 8th was Georgia. They dominated Marshall 45-7. 7 was Oregon. They easily beat Montana State 59-13. 6 was Alabama. They were upset by Florida State, losing 31-17. 5th, I had Ohio State. They beat Texas 14-7. 4th was Notre Dame. They lost to Miami 27-24. 3rd was Penn State. They destroyed Nevada, winning 46-11. 2nd, I had Texas. They lost to Ohio State 14-7. And 1st was Clemson, who lost to LSU 17-10. But getting into this week's rankings, kicking things off at number 10, I've got Arizona State. So Arizona State, they've remained at number 10 after they beat Northern Arizona 38-19. Now, I definitely could understand dropping Arizona State a spot and putting somebody else at number 10, like maybe South Carolina or Illinois, but I do still have Arizona State at number 10. Now, this game definitely could have been better for them because Northern Arizona is an FCS team, but this was still a solid performance. The offense was great for Arizona State, putting up 38 points, and they had over 450 total yards. And quarterback Sam Leavitt played well, as he had 257 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, plus he had 73 yards and 2 scores on the ground. And receiver Jordan Tyson also had a great game, with 12 catches for over 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, the defense for Arizona State could have been a little bit better, and giving up 19 points to an FCS team definitely isn't ideal, but they were also pretty good against the pass and the run, and they were great on third down, holding Northern Arizona to just 2 of 15 on third down. Now, this wasn't the best game for Arizona State. They did end up winning this game fairly comfortably, and I've got them remaining at number 10. Ninth, I've got Notre Dame. So Notre Dame falls to number 9 after they lost to Miami 27-24. And Notre Dame, they did not play well. Offensively, new quarterback CJ Carr actually was like the only good player, as he had 3 total touchdowns in his first ever college start. But outside of him, the offense was terrible. The offensive line really struggled, and they didn't run the ball that well, which is 3.5 yards per carry. Plus, the play calling wasn't very good. And the defense for Notre Dame was a little bit better, but still not great, as they allowed 27 points and 332 total yards, and they had pretty much no pass rush. But I'm dropping Notre Dame from number 4 to number 9. I still do think this Notre Dame team is very good, because they still went to a top 10 team, played terribly, and only lost by 3 points. So I still think this Notre Dame team is really good. Plus, it seems they found themselves a quarterback in CJ Carr who looked really good in his first ever start. But after the loss to Miami, I've got Notre Dame at number 9. Coming in at number 8, I've got Clemson. So Clemson is another team falling after a Week 1 loss, as they lost to LSU 17-7. And this was not a great performance for Clemson. The offense really struggled with just 10 points, and they didn't score at all in the second half. Quarterback Cade Klubnik didn't have his best game with 230 yards and interception, and Clemson also really struggled to run the ball, plus the pass protection wasn't great. And on top of all that, Clemson lost their top receiver, Antonio Williams, to a hamstring injury. Then the defense for Clemson wasn't terrible, only allowing 17 points, and they put the team in a position to win, but the offense, they just couldn't get in the end zone at the end of the game, and Clemson ended up losing. But I still have Clemson at number 8. Like Notre Dame, I'm not really too worried about Clemson. I still think this is a really good team, and I've got Clemson at number 8. 7th, I've got Texas. So Texas is the 3rd team in a row that falls after a Week 1 loss, as they lost to Ohio State 14-7. And they did not play very well. The offense for Texas was not good with just 7 points, and Arch Manning really struggled. Now, everyone's jumping all over Arch Manning saying he's going to be terrible, but I think everyone's overreacting. Arch Manning played his first ever road start, his 3rd start in his career. And he didn't play very well, but he was playing against an elite defense in an extremely tough place to play. So I still think Arch Manning's going to be a very good quarterback, and I think he's going to be just fine. Now, outside of Arch Manning, Texas was actually pretty good on the ground, 166 yards on 4.5 yards per carry, but they will need Arch Manning to be better moving forward. Then the defense for Texas was really good, allowing just 14 points, and they shut down Jeremiah Smith, holding him to just 43 yards, but the Texas offense was not good enough, and I've got them at number 7. 6th, I've got Georgia. So Georgia, they move up to number 6, and some people might think this is still a little bit low for Georgia, but I'm not that high on them, and they beat Marshall 45-7, Good win, but I'm not really that moved by it. But, Georgia, they did play fairly well. Quarterback Gunnar Stockton had a good game with 4 total touchdowns, 2 through the air, 2 on the ground. And Georgia, they ran the ball really effectively, 239 yards. And that is an extremely encouraging sign after how bad they were on the ground last season. And then the defense for Georgia, they dominated, allowing just 7 points and 207 total yards. But this was a good win for Georgia. They did what you would expect when they play Marshall, and I've got Georgia at number 6. Getting into the top 5, at number 5, I've got Oregon. So Oregon enters at number 5 after they destroyed Montana State, winning 59-13. Quarterback Dante Moore had a good game with 3 touchdowns, and the run game was great, with 253 yards and 5 scores, while averaging 6.5 yards per carry. Then on the defensive side of the ball, Oregon was also great, allowing just 13 points. But not a ton to say about this game for Oregon. They destroyed an FCS team like you would expect, and I've got Oregon at number 5. Fourth, I've got Miami. So this is a pretty big jump for Miami, going from outside my top 10 to number 4, but I think they're a lot more deserving of this number 4 spot as opposed to Oregon or Georgia, who played nobodies. But Miami, they played a great Notre Dame team, and they played pretty well. The offense for Miami was good, and a big reason why is the offensive line dominated. Carson Beck barely got touched, and he had a good Miami debut, throwing for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Miami, they were also pretty good on the ground, with 127 rushing yards. And then on the defensive side of things, Miami, they were pretty good. They did have 24 points, but they got consistent pressure on CJ Carr, and they forced 2 turnovers. But Miami, they got off to a very good start, a good win over Notre Dame, and I've got them at number 4. Third, I've got LSU. So LSU enters at number 3 after they beat Clemson 17-10. And this is a good win for LSU, because they beat a very good Clemson team on the road, and I don't think they played their best game. The offense for LSU was okay. They put up 17 points, and quarterback Garrett Nussmeier was solid, but nothing too crazy, as he threw for 232 yards and a touchdown. Now, receiver Aaron Anderson did have a good game, as he had 99 yards on 6 catches. Now, I don't think this LSU offense was great, but obviously they did enough to get the win. Now, an area where LSU was great is defense. Their defense absolutely dominated this game. They allowed just 10 points, didn't allow a single point in the second half, and their pass rush looked really good, plus they came up with several big stops late in the game. But LSU, they looked really good. I was really impressed with how their defense looked, and we know their offense can be very good. But LSU, they looked really good. They won their first season opener since 2019, and after their win over Clemson, I've got LSU at number 3. Second, I've got Penn State. So Penn State, they enter at number 2 after they easily beat Nevada 46-11. And Penn State, they did what you would expect them to do to Nevada. The offense put up 46 points and 438 total yards, although the interesting thing about this game for Penn State is the big names on offense didn't really have great games. As Drew Allar threw for just 217 yards, and Katron Allen and Nick Singleton combined for just 62 rushing yards. But despite that, the offense still had no problem putting up big numbers. Then the defense for Penn State, they were also great. They allowed just 11 points, didn't allow a touchdown until under a minute left, and they also forced 3 turnovers. But after an easy win over Nevada, I've got Penn State at number 2. And coming in at number 1, I've got Ohio State. So Ohio State, they jump up to number 1 after they beat Texas 14-7. The offense wasn't great for Ohio State, but they did enough to get the win, and when your defense only allows 7 points, you really don't need to do that much. But quarterback Julian Sayin was decent in his first start, as he threw for 126 yards and a touchdown. And Ohio State, they weren't great on the ground, which is 77 yards on 2.3 yards per carry. Now, the defense for Ohio State, they were great. They dominated this game. Arch Manning looked terrible, and they allowed just 7 points. But Ohio State, they still look really good. As I said, I don't think the offense played that well, but the defense looked really good. They got some big goal line stops, and they beat a really good Texas team, and I've got Ohio State at number 1. And moving on to my updated college football playoff predictions, and I don't want to overreact to week 1, and I still think Notre Dame, Clemson, and Texas will also make the playoff, but here are my updated predictions. 1 seed, I still got Ohio State at 13-0 winning the Big Ten. 2 seed, I've got Texas at 12-1 winning the SEC. 3rd seed is Clemson, 12-1 winning the ACC. 4th seed, Arizona State, 12-1 winning the Big 12. 5th seed, I've got LSU at 11-2. 6th seed, I've got Penn State at 11-2. My 7th seed is Georgia at 11-1. 8th seed, I've got Notre Dame at 11-1. 9th seed, I've got Oregon also at 11-1. My 10 seed is Miami at 10-2. The 11th seed, I've got Illinois at 10-2. And the 12th team, this will be the Group of 5 team. And I originally had Boise State here, but after they got destroyed by South Florida, it seems pretty unlikely. Now, South Florida can make it. I definitely think they've got a chance to be the Group of 5 representative. But my 12th seed is Tulane. They look pretty good in their win over Northwestern, winning 23-3. And I've got Tulane going 12-1, winning the American. And I've got their only loss against Ole Miss. But those are my Week 2 college football rankings and my updated college football playoff predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.